The following material may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
You're just hurting yourself with this rambunctious behavior.
Oh, I know. Boy, oh boy. Nice to be back in the chair. What a strange couple of weeks it's been, huh? Nice to have Nate back in the other room as well.
What is that?
Yeah, not that I don't enjoy everyone that I work with. Nate just holds a special... I have a soft spot in my head for him.
The Rick Gilmour Show on News Radio WTAM 1100.
Boy, oh boy. Here with you until 10 o'clock. Drudge Report after that until 1. There's something new feature, right? Drudge before midnight. And then Art Bell's back, right? Coast to Coast AM. Oh, my God. It's funny, I listen to radio professionals and try to perfect some of the fine art. The fine art of Art Bell is that you can have guests on talking about God knows what. And Art can distance himself enough to play moderator, correct? Oh, my goodness. Oh. Try not to form an opinion on whether or not aliens actually went in through the man's navel. Anything's possible, isn't it? What I always find amazing when I listen to talk radio is the time I had a call from a young man who I asked him if he believed in God, and he said, well, I don't know, maybe. And I said, well, what about space aliens? Oh, absolutely. What? That took no time at all for him to think over. Yeah, talk radio's a funny game. I don't know whether you still want to talk about Rush Limbaugh. 578-1100 in the classic 216 area code, broadcasting live from the cultural void of Independence, Ohio. Toll-free 888-723-WTAM. I'm diametrically opposed. I am diametrically opposed to Rush Limbaugh's politics in many regards. I also consider Rush Limbaugh, and let me preface any statement I would make about Rush by saying that I am so appreciative of the fact that management never calls me and says, so if you mention Rush, what are you going to say? No one does that. I'm very appreciative of that fact. And I'm going to tell you, like I always tell you, the straight up honest, the way I feel about it, is that Rush Limbaugh is one of the, whether you agree with him or not, one of the most talented men to ever sit behind a radio microphone. I used to try to emulate him. In fact, someday I'll have a studio where I'll be able to smoke in it. Just like Rush. Whether you agree with him or not, the guy's got talent. Lots of it. Gobs of it. And if somebody ends up addicted to pills, well, look at it this way. Elvis was addicted to pills. Johnny Cash was addicted to pills twice. And you don't hear me bad-mouthing them, do you? I don't believe I ever said anything bad about Johnny Cash. I don't know, Nate did. Nate said all kinds of bad things about Johnny Cash, but shame on you. Shame on you, good producer Nate. I think you killed him. You were part of the process. You and MTV. I think MTV had something to do with it, too. The poor guy was waiting for that MTV Music Award and didn't get it. Well, Godspeed and God bless Rush Limbaugh. And, you know, if he gets through this, which I'm certain he will, it'll all be part of the past. Because I've said this from the beginning. Maybe you heard me when so it's been a strange couple of weeks. I butted in on Kevin Keene's show and dropped in some comments about Rush Limbaugh. And I got my proverbial in a bit of a ringer. Did you see last week's Scene magazine with the picture of the guy with the pig mask on the cover? In the article called Big Game Hunters by Sarah Fensky. If you didn't get it, go to clevescene.com and you can read the archived version. I mean, it seems like everything that everybody does lately makes a big stink. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, it's been a strange couple of weeks. Is Arnold going to be a good governor in California? I guess I don't care. Is Arnold going to be the next Ronald Reagan? I highly doubt it. See, Ronald Reagan, if you don't know, was a, B-movie actor that then became president of the Screen Actors Guild. And he was a good president of the Screen Actors Guild. And then he became governor of California in '66. And he was a good governor in California. And then moved on to political career later and later and later. I mean, Arnold's Austrian. He can't be president. And think about it this way. Arnold would not be the first Austrian that wanted to run the world. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Now I'm going to read you a little bit just in case you haven't seen that Scene magazine article about it, and I'll tell you how I got in trouble. I'll just go through parts of it here. Rick Gilmour, the WTAM radio shock jock, prides himself on being a misogynist, or at least a man who can appeal to misogynists and their prized 18 to 36-year-old demographic. And let me also preface, Sarah Fenske's this real pretty young lady, and she shows up, and she's got a wicked sense of humor, I'll tell you that. I mean, you don't know it in person. Little did I know, I'd be part of the attack as well. In person, he's more gangly than his radio voice would suggest. He looks like the guy who ran the school audiovisual department, not the one who partied with the rugby team. He's been known to refer to hogging on the air. He assumes his listeners know what he's talking about. His usual fare is politics or music or cars. Disparagement of fat women fits right into the mix. Here's where I got in trouble. One of Gilmour's regular haunts, Backdraft, is a hole in the wall tucked into a Lorraine Road strip mall. All right, well, now, the lady that owns the place blows a gasket because it says it's a hole in the wall. It's not a hole in the wall. I've been to a hole in the walls. You ever been to the old Merkers on West 136th in Lorraine? No, it's a nice Irish bar. But before, you'd walk in there and you could smell the men's room at Merkers when you walked in the front door. If you can walk in the front door of a bar and smell the men's room, that's a hole in the wall. Backdraft is not a hole in the wall. Yeah, it's tucked into a Lorraine Road strip mall out in North Olmsted, but it's not a hole in the wall. It's clean. I mean, if I dropped something on the floor, I'd bend over and pick it up. There's some bars, unless it was a $100 bill, you'd leave it lay. Gilmour knows most of the guys here. The only woman is a tired 40-something, giving full attention to her drink. You'd never know it from this sausage fest, he said, but this is ladies' night. Well, sad but true, but that does not reflect on the owner of the bar, or the bar. And I did not say I went there to pick up fat chicks. In fact, I don't go out trying to pick up fat chicks anyway. Gilmour admits he's been with some heavies and professes not to like it. In polite society, they call him Rubenesque. Some people say they're softer and feel better. Not me. I'll take a chance with a woman where our hip bones are clinking together. So that's how the whole article went, pretty much. It was pretty piggy. And everybody blew a gasket. Everybody's mad. The lady that managed the bar in the afternoon threw out all the Scene magazines and took the magazine dispenser and hid it in the back room and probably told Scene magazine to go to hell. And so I called Sarah Fenske, who apparently, someone informed me they were watching Fox 8 News and that some women's group out there is going to try and sue Scene or Sarah or both or something. A women's group? It's a bunch of fat ladies is what it is. Who else would be upset about the article? Most of these large women try to cover it by the fact that they've made all the sizes different. Have you know, now a 14 is a 10. So these fat broads can feel better about themselves. I suppose I shouldn't be disparaging fat people. Nate's in the other room eating carrots. Are you on some kind of a diet?
No.
No?
No.
Are your eyes going bad? Is there some reason why you're eating carrots?
Okay, I'm on a diet.
All right, geez. I mean, normally it's pizza. Or Chipotle, not carrots.
Oh, Chipotle. Oh.
Like a little football.
Yeah.
Packed with meat and rice and delicious, isn't it? I think I'll leave here and go to Wendy's and hit the dollar menu. Get a couple of those junior bacon cheeseburgers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm 6'3" and 150.
You suck.
So, well, and I didn't think they were going to send a fat girl to write an article about fat women, right? That wouldn't happen. I knew she'd be thin. And seeing as I, one time in my life, was fat, I think I can make fun of fat people if I wanted to. It's called self-control. And that's how people get in trouble. That's what happened to Rush Limbaugh. A lack of self-control.
I am addicted to prescription pain medication.
And he'll get through it. And he'll get by it. And I know, here's the way it works. And I've said this, and I've heard a lot of other people parrot me. And I believe I said it first. That's why I burst in on the Kevin Keene program last week. Maybe I didn't say it on his program. Maybe I said it on Rado's. I don't know. I've been busting it on people's programs and calling in because it piqued my interest, the whole Rush thing. It's political. Do you understand? Who is the most influential man in the Republican Party? Who? The president? Dick Cheney? Donald Rumsfeld? Condoleezza Rice? She's not a man. Who's the most influential person in the Republican Party? Don't choke on your carrot, Nate. It's Rush Limbaugh. More people listen to Rush Limbaugh every day that are of the Republican bent than anybody else. The president's not on every day. The president's got enough trouble as it is. Now we got even Republicans asking what the hell's going on in Iraq. Now we had 2 suicide bombers today. What the hell is going on in Iraq? I'll miss Rush. I'd like to hear him try and explain what the president's doing over there and try and stick up for him. Rush Limbaugh is the most influential man in the Republican Party. What do we have coming up next year? We have a presidential election. The Democrats are going to come out of the woodwork and try and attack Rush. It just seems odd, doesn't it? He gets the boot from ESPN, and in the same breath, they were going to raid his house. Now, I want you to consider something else. Where is Rush Limbaugh's house? You listening to me closely? You probably know, don't you? You know where he broadcasts from. Doesn't he live in Florida? How close was the last presidential election? Pretty close, wasn't it? Where was that election decided? In Florida, where Rush lives, where Rush broadcasts from, where the Supreme Court of the state of Florida was overruled by the Supreme Court of the United States that said, no, George Bush is our president, not Al Gore. And it was that close, right? That close. That means fully half the country, if you think about it, more or less, fully half the country did not want this president that we have now. Now, don't you think there's people down in Florida that would just love to exact some sort of revenge on the most influential man in the Republican Party? Yes. Don't you think they knew that maybe if Rush had a problem with pain medication, that maybe this had been hanging around for a while and they were just waiting for the time to pull the trigger? When's it going to be right time to do it? When do we pull? And like I said, I am diametrically opposed to Rush's views on politics in many, many areas. Just like the nice letter I got from Sharon Hargrove when Mike Hargrove left, and she said they were afraid to listen to the radio because they were thinking people would be bad-mouthing them when they tuned me in. And she sent me the nice letter because that was the first time that Mike had listened to the radio after he'd gotten the boot from the Indians, because I talked about Mike the man, not Mike the manager, and how Mike and Sharon Hargrove were nice people and did things in the community. You know, just good people. You don't know Rush Limbaugh, do you? You know Rush that you listen to on the radio. I don't know Rush Limbaugh. I've never met him. So instead of trying to judge the most influential man in the Republican Party, well, think about it this way. He wipes his backside just like you do. He craps his pants one leg at a time just like everybody else. Wait a minute, I'm mixing my metaphors. What's a metaphor? Cows. So anyway, that's what a metaphor is. So, I had to get my 10 cents worth in there about Rush Limbaugh. As judge the man as a man. Did you stop listening to Johnny Cash records because Johnny Cash was on pills? Nate says from the other room, I never listened to him anyway. Well, that's fine. You know, did people quit listening to Kurt Cobain when they found out that he might have had a heroin problem? No, they quit listening when he took a shotgun and disconnected his brain. No, actually, they're still listening. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And remember, there's never anything wrong. Yeah, and Nirvana kept putting out albums anyway. And, well, Johnny Cash, they're putting out more albums too. You know. Somebody wants to talk about Warren Sapp. He called the NFL a bunch of slave masters? Jesus. John?
Yes, sir.
What's this about Warren Sapp? I didn't.
They were asking Warren Sapp. They denied him access to run through the other team's pregame huddle or pregame warm-ups. He says he's been doing it since college. And he said it was just another slap in the face and another way that the slave masters can keep him down.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
How much money those people make?
And he makes $7 million a year.
Yeah. He makes more money than we will make in our combined lifetimes, John.
Right.
And then the NFL's a bunch of slave masters.
Right. I'm not out to get into the whole race issue and stuff like that, but it seems like what Rush said was wrong. But a lot of people do it on the opposite side and reverse discrimination. They don't lose their jobs over it. I don't think that. I think wrong is wrong and stupid is stupid. And, just like what Warren Sapp said. But, there won't be no repercussions towards what Sapp says. And it's unfair that... You think Rush should have lost his job over what he said?
No, but I didn't think probably Jimmy the Greek Snyder shouldn't have had a couple of drinks put in him and then had a camera stuck before his face, and Al Campanis and Howard Cosell, and, you find these guys, doesn't it seem like they're all in their 50s?
I like what you said about we know the personality, but we don't know the person. That holds true with the Kobe Bryant situation as well. And he is innocent until proven guilty, but, we don't know none of these guys. We hear their voices, we see them run up and down the field, but as far as a person, we don't know them,
You're right. I mean, we don't know Rush Limbaugh. I've never sat down and had dinner with him. He might be an engaging, wonderful person. Do we ever consider the fact that how much money Rush makes? Maybe does he give money to charity? Does anybody ask that? Does anybody ask the good things that someone does, or do they immediately jump on celebrity and try to tear them down because they're jealous?
Well, also, if that was, say Rush Limbaugh was just a regular, didn't have the regular day job, and they yanked that job from him, they, basically took money off the guy's table. I mean, I think everybody should be penalized for being stupid in some, aspect of a fine or what have you, but I don't think he should have been fired. But for the job he did, though, for football, and I don't really want to get into the football thing either, but he was horrible, but what he said, they ran that guy out of town.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Well, Warren Sapp needs to look for another line of work then, maybe, huh?
Well, the Warren Sapp situation, yeah, exactly. If that's what a slave master pays, where can I sign up, man? $7 million?
Yes, Massa.
And
yeah.
Baba Booey to you.
Yeah. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3 meteorologist Betsy Kling. Tonight, clear and cool, low in the low 40s. Low 40s? Low 30s. Tomorrow, sunny and mild, upper 60s. Currently 54 degrees in Cleveland, 54. And we want you to take care of your sweetie. I took care of mine. I divorced her. Listen for your cue to call starting tomorrow. We'll win a dozen roses from Duffy's Flowers and Plants in Solon. Qualify for the ultimate sweetest day prize. Overnight stay at Embassy Suites, including a full cook-to-order bed and breakfast, chocolate rose, $100 Shop Talk lingerie gift certificate. JVC DVD player from Stewart's Appliance, a matching sterling heart bracelet, a necklace from Peter and Company Jewelers, and all this stuff, and a $100 gift certificate to Gale's Garden Center. You can make your sweetie very happy by giving it a big one. Snooze Radio, WTAM 1100. Yeah, I spent the weekend turning my dishwasher into a snow thrower. I brought a shovel. Bob, you're on the air. Are you there, Bob? I'm not going to sit here all night and waste time on you.
Hello? Hello?
Bob?
Hello? Stupid cordless phone.
Yeah, I don't know how to work it either. Rick, you're on the air.
Gilly, do me a favor, man. I read that article. Come on, tell me a little bit that that's not true. Tell me you were misquoted. Tell me something. Come on.
Well, now here's the weird part about that article in the Scene magazine about hogging was it starts out with some Rick and Mark characters, or Rick and Steve or something, and that Rick's not me. And then in the middle of the article, then it goes into Rick Gilmour, and then that part only carries through for several paragraphs, and then it goes back to the other Rick. They should have clarified, they should have said Rick M. or something like that. But the part that you read with my name on it, what did you find that was I don't know, distasteful? What was this? Was it rude?
They lumped you in with a bunch of creeps. You were neither a voice of reason nor, anything else. You were kind of just like one of the creeps, but a famous one. Nobody knew. I don't know the two guys they started out talking about, but then you see Gilly.
Well, you know what? And I think if you read the entire article, you'd probably read it and come away thinking, gee, the part with Rick Gilmour, he sounds like the nicest guy out of the whole bunch.
I'm ruffling through my newspapers. I think it might have got tossed. It is garbage night. All right, the other thing. This bit with Rush.
Yeah.
Love Nirvana. I'm a massive Grateful Dead fan. But I got to tell you, Jerry was a filth. Okay? He was a filthy human being that was addicted to drugs. But he didn't tell me how to live my life. He wasn't out there on the radio. Johnny Cash struggled with a bunch of demons, made great music. Musicians, if you live hard, you make good music. That's an unfortunate byproduct of things. But Rush is a little bit different because he's out there giving guidance and giving a point of view to a lot of people that don't like to think, that take it as gospel, and the rules are a little bit different. You got skeletons, you got to watch.
Well, I suppose when you come off with a holier-than-thou attitude where you're trying to tell people, like you said, how to think, that, if you have some peccadillos or something going on in your life, that somebody's bound to jump on it. Let me tell you a little story. You know who Bill Randall was? Bill Randall?
Oh, absolutely.
Radio guy?
Absolutely.
My buddy Flash Gordon was an intern for Bill Randall back when Flash was still in high school. And in fact, the high school made him quit because they said, well, how can he be working in the radio business while he's still in high school? Well, Bill Randall was a wealthy man, and still is, and had a Rolls Royce with a vanity plate that said Randall on it. And somebody beat the crap out of it and spray painted it and hit it with bats and that kind of thing. Did they hate Bill Randall? Probably not. Did Bill ever do anything that was offensive to people on the radio? Not to my knowledge. But Bill Randall had a Rolls Royce and was apparently proud of it with his vanity plate. And he said, never again will I put my name on my license plate because somebody did that because they were jealous.
Well, sure. That's what Keene was talking about the other night. And I was talking to him. We fall in love with the image and we want to see him fall, either because we're jealous of him or just flat out don't like him. And we're sick that way. We like to see weakness. We like to see turmoil because we're messed up. It's a reflection of everybody.
Yeah, wait till they find out about Nate in the gay chat rooms. Well, we're all going to be in trouble.
Hey!
More of the program after these important words and coverage of what in the world's happening. I'm Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend, and this is Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know that I have always tried to be honest with you throughout these 15 years and open about my life. So I need to tell you something. I need to tell you today that part of what you have heard and read in the past week is correct. I am addicted.
Something interesting in the break, Nate. You said what? The difference between Rush Limbaugh and Kobe Bryant?
Yeah, we made Kobe an icon. Okay?
Yeah.
Big basketball player, people put their posters up of their choosing.
Yep.
Rush turns on his mic every day and says, my way is the right way.
Excellence in broadcasting. EIB.
More talent in my thinking.
So Rush made himself an icon?
Yes.
Now, that's not necessarily true because if people didn't listen to Rush, he wouldn't be a cash cow. People had to listen to Rush. I mean, radio's all about revenue. If you can bring in the revenue, even if you say things that are unpopular, if people listen to you, you know what I'm saying? You could be the most brilliant radio man on the face of the planet. And if for some reason, like myself, and if for some reason no one listened, but see, people listen to me. I mean, if no one listened, it's just a matter of numbers. It's a matter of numbers. That's what it's all about. That's the only reason why Rush Limbaugh did not just go away. He can't just go away. Dear God in heaven, he can't just go away. He makes too much money. Frank, you're on the air. You're breaking up.
I'm going up a hill. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, let me put you on hold and check back here in a couple of...
Am I okay now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you really well.
Good.
I'd like to start my conversation saying Rush Limbaugh, his brain on loan from God, but the fluid flowing through it brought to you by the Lilly Drug Company.
Well, see, now that's what's going to happen. People are going to come out and they're going to say, but see, now everything that you heard from Rush now, he was under the influence of drugs.
Well, the thing I would like to prove is the same. The last thing is like, Johnny Cash and, Elvis never tried to be claimed that they're the ultimate conservative God. I think this proves that he's not totally conservative. He plays really hardcore rock and roll music on his station. He stole the Pretenders theme song. And then at the same time, he's been doing this for years, maybe 10, 15 years left, totally blasted out of his mind on one of considered the most powerful drug. It makes marijuana look like nothing. It's considered more powerful. OxyContin is considered more powerful than heroin.
See, I'm not
totally conservative.
Frank, listen to me. I am not going to tell you that I agree with Rush or that anyone told me to stick up for him. I'm saying he's a human being, and I listened to Rush, and I learned a lot from Rush on how to do a 15, 20-minute monologue.
He's a genius radio-wise. He's a genius, no argument.
You've listened to him lately? Does he sound like a man who's possessed?
Some people can be totally drunk out of their mind. They can drink 20 beers and they don't slur a one word. There's some people can be. I've met heroin addicts. They've been heroin addicts for 10 years, and you could not tell that they were heroin addicts. So but inside, believe me, they are really blasted. OxyContin is a powerful drug. So I'm saying he's not conservative. I'm saying he's got a lot of liberal blood. He walks around blasted on drugs. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
And he walks around blasted on drugs, and he plays hardcore rock and roll music. He plays Hendrix, and he plays pieces of the Pretenders, his theme. I mean, I'm saying Rush Limbaugh cannot claim himself to be diehard conservative.
I'm telling you that the society, I didn't even get into that yet. And I got this message on the message board. I was going to ask my producer, was that from a caller that called that message on the message board, or was that from you?
Oh, me.
Okay, yeah, he said if I got up on a soapbox every night, people couldn't wait for me to screw up. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen, and I'll tell you why, because the society we live in, Rush will get through this. Rush will survive this, and I thought about it. I gave it a lot of thought as to why. It's like when I did a national program and talked about how I thought marijuana should be legal. And then I thought, now you've got to look at the people and how old they are that are my bosses and their bosses, and everyone's boss nowadays is 45 to 55, and they probably dabbled a bit at some point in their life with something.
80% of the people my generation smoke pot.
Well, there you go, and it should be legal.
So I'm just saying that Rush Limbaugh's not a conservative. He's walking around through life totally blasted, playing rock and roll music. He's like at best 60% conservative.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. He is conservative. Whether or not somebody has a drug problem does not mean that they're not conservative. His viewpoint is about as conservative as it gets. See, that's where you say liberals do drugs. Gee, I'll bet you Jimmy Carter never did anything harder than aspirin. You cannot judge people as to whether they're liberal or conservative as to whether or not they might have a problem with drugs or alcohol or anything else. We're human beings. That's all we are, and we're here for a short period of time. We're only visitors on this planet for a short period of time. And there are people out there that are going to take Rush apart like a clock. Because he commands the airwaves, and he does sit or stand on a soapbox and smoke his big stogie and tell you how to think, and they're going to try and take him apart.
Hello, chérie. All is fair in love and war, eh, darling?
Yeah. And the Democrats are jumping on this, and they're going to try and take Rush down. And I cannot sit here and tell you that I'm going to stick up for his politics. You know the old joke, what's the difference between Rush Limbaugh and the Hindenburg? One's a flaming Nazi gas bag, and the other's a dirigible. So, there's people out there that clearly do not like the man. They don't know the man. I don't know him. You don't know him. We don't know Rush, the man. We know Rush, the guy on the radio, who's very, very opinionated. Rush Limbaugh decided a long time ago that he was going to have a radio program where he would convince you that he was correct. And I would listen to Rush early on. I would listen to Rush, and I'd go, yeah. Wait a minute. But he had me going there for a while. And if he can do that to me, there's plenty of people out there that believe just the way Rush believes. And you can't judge whether somebody's conservative or liberal by their habits. I mean, do you really, in all reality, do you think Rush Limbaugh sat down and said, you know what? One of my goals in life is to be addicted to painkillers. That's one of my goals, is to take painkillers every day. I highly doubt it. I don't know Rush the man, and neither do you. Bill, you're on the air.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
All right.
Good. Hey, I got a question for you. I heard you might be running for governor of Ohio.
No, I never said that.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, because, Bob the Jellyfish Taft does need to be replaced, but who can replace him?
That's my question for you tonight.
Well, here's the problem. Tim Hagen has no name recognition below the Medina-Dixon line, as I like to call it.
Okay.
And so...
What about the Mansfield-Dixon line?
Okay, the Mansfield-Dixon line. I mean, Akron is the northernmost city in West Virginia.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know as if there's a Democrat out there who has a snowball's chance.
Well, at least...
But then again, who thought the Cubs had a chance, too? I don't know.
That's true. At least Tim kept his promises. You got the new tax rate Taft.
Well, I think it's fairly despicable, the idea that they have to raise the sales tax and then the next day find the money that we had lost. And then they don't do anything to repeal the sales tax, of course, because once that's in, it's in.
Right.
And that stinks.
Well, I figured it out. What it is he's driving a bus, and it's an autopilot, and it's about to go off a cliff soon.
Yeah, he's like that urban myth and legend story about the guy that's in the back of the motorhome. And he comes out of the bathroom, and there's his wife standing there, and she was supposed to be driving. And she said, no, that's okay. I put it on cruise control. And then they smash into a bridge.
Tell me this, though.
What?
He's got to be loving the media right now, because he's not getting any negative press, because what's going on in Iraq, what's going on with Rush Limbaugh, it's filling the airways, and he's living it up, and he's staying under the carpet.
Yeah, what went on with Arnold?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it goes in this world, is, we end up with people like Jesse the Body and Arnold and Fred Grandy and Sonny Bono. And, I mean, we're electing politicians that are just pop figures because we're so fed up with the politicians. What do we got to lose? At least we got a charismatic guy that we like his movies.
But, Governor Taft is an actor.
He's a puppet of George Voinovich. He's a puppet of King George V.
You understand, when I worked in the State House, I saw him take speech lessons.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You mean he really is an actor?
Exactly.
And I can't think of... Then they probably all take speech lessons, don't they? I mean, I don't know about Ronald Reagan, but he had a damn fine speech writer. He didn't write those on napkins. He wasn't Abraham Lincoln.
No.
And for all we know, Abraham Lincoln had a speech writer, too. And it's just all folklore and all that sort of thing. But I sat around and thought about that. I thought, who's a viable Democrat that could replace Bob Taft? And I'm thinking, well, anybody that would run on the platform, and this really sticks in my craw, and I know I might sound like a broken record. People take money out of this state. They don't even take it to other states. They take it out of the country to go gamble. To gamble. You know what saved Wheeling, West Virginia? Was not the steel industry. It was Wheeling Island. It was dog racing and slot machines. That's what saved it. They were going to make Wheeling. I don't know if you knew this. I've got relatives down there, and I was talking to somebody when I was down there, and they said they were going to make Wheeling, West Virginia. They were going to make the downtown the casino. I said, well, downtown Wheeling ain't that big. They said, no, you don't get it. There would be no downtown Wheeling. They were going to buy every street and make the entire business district of downtown Wheeling into the casino. They said it didn't matter how much it cost to buy it. They'd always make the money back on gambling.
Oh, yeah. I live in Lorain County.
Oh, the Spitzers have been trying to put a casino there for years.
Forever. And they can't do it. And you know what it would generate for the city alone?
Oh.
You talk about all these Ford workers I know, they're always going to Detroit, Windsor. They're going everywhere. They're leaving, always.
Yeah, they're going to Greektown. They're going to Windsor. They're going to Casino Niagara. They're going to Wheeling Island. They're going to Indiana. They're going to Atlantic City. They're going to Vegas. They're going to Reno. They're going all these places where you can gamble. And then they'll say, well, but if we put a casino in Ohio, that would be us advocating gambling. But play all Ohio lottery games responsibly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
What I want you to do
is
set up a steering committee, and you find the man.
No, that sounds like a good idea. And now I want you to do something. Stand on one foot, eat 50 hot dogs, and hop around in a circle.
I hear you.
I'll try and find somebody for you.
You have a good night.
All right, you too. That's damn near impossible. Who are you going to find that's a Democrat to replace Governor Taft? If you look at the red and the blue being Democratic and the red being Republican, and I think there's one blue county out of 88, and I'm sitting in it, Cuyahoga County. Every other county in the state is Republican. Man, maybe we can get Jerry Springer. See, there's another guy. Oh, let's pick some guy who was a nobody in Cincinnati politics and became a pop icon. Let's run him. Well, you know what? I want you to seriously consider this. Could he do a worse job than who we have? Think about it. Could he do could we be worse off? I mean, that's what the people in California thought about Gray Davis. They thought, well, we're going to recall Gray Davis because he's not doing his job. And we're going to put in Arnold. What do we got to lose? And, of course, the Democrats are going to be thinking, well, if Arnold doesn't do his job, then we'll just recall him. You know, Jefferson said we're supposed to have a revolution every 20 years. Now, however, he did not say we're supposed to have a gubernatorial recall every 20 months or 20 minutes. But if somebody's not doing their job, they're replaced, right? And, you know, the problem with California is, well, what's Arnold going to do? They're billions and billions in debt. All he can do is raise taxes. I don't know how else, unless he's some kind of a miracle worker that can, you know, do the fishes and loaves thing. I have no idea. We'll have to find out. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3 meteorologist Betsy Kring tonight. Nippy out there. Little nippy out there. Yeah, clear, cool, 40s, low 40s. Tomorrow, nice day, huh? Sunny, upper 60s. You know how soon we'll be praying for upper 40s? Won't be long now. Tuesday, low 60s and rain. Currently 54 degrees in Cleveland. 54 degrees. You know you can win $1 million in Vegas. All you have to do is listen for your cue to call. You heard one right before the program. Listen for your cue to call. Be the 50th nationwide caller to 1-866-525-WINS. That's 866-525-9467. Win a trip to Vegas. See the Radio Music Awards on the 27th of October. Get $500 in cash, and everybody will be guaranteed to have a chance to win $1 million. How about that? I want to remind you, too, Drudge Report coming up at 10 o'clock here on the big one, followed by Coast to Coast AM with the one and only well, what is this? Oh, boy. Everybody's been stacking up here and waiting forever. Vicky, talk to me.
Hi, Gilly. How are you?
Just splendiferous.
It's been a while since I've had a chance to speak to you.
Yes, it has been.
Well, I don't know, Gilly. First of all, I do not have an addiction, and I am not going to stick my nose into something that I do not understand. Anybody who has dealt with an addiction, it's incomprehensible to me as far as dealing with it. So I would never even venture an opinion on what that must be like. I don't understand exactly all of this whole thing with Rush because, I've been involved in some sports this week. But I don't understand if this was a problem stemming from his hearing loss, and I don't know if anybody knows this or not, or if this was, the hearing loss was caused by some of this drug use, which means it has been going on for a while. And did you hear...
What happened, let me just jump in and tell you. He had some spinal surgery some years ago, he had some spine surgery, which apparently did not fix the problem, and he had some continuing chronic pain, along with the hearing problems and the pain from the ears, and so it kind of snowballed, and he ended up getting on these painkillers. And I do know people that have been addicted to painkillers, and they said it's quite simple to have it happen. You start out very slowly, and the next thing you know, you cannot function without the painkiller, and then you start building up a tolerance to it, and now you need more and more and more of it. And you could literally pop so many pills you could rattle just to try and get to that point Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, if one
Right,
person started out taking that many pills at one time, they'd be dead.
And this is not the first time that he has tried to deal with this problem. Is that correct? Did I hear that also correctly? That he had been into rehab before?
I have heard that as well, yes.
Now,
He said it. He said it. Yeah, so, I mean...
What bothers me the most, Gilly, about the whole thing regarding ESPN is that he, as well as some of the other people that I have heard on the radio, tend to speak their opinion as if it was a fact. And I think that I've always been taught from a very young age that if I have an opinion, I should state that to you as my opinion. But if I come to you and I say something and I do not clarify that, I say, oh, well, people who are addicted just made their own trouble or whatever. That may be my opinion, but if I state it as a fact, you know what I'm saying? That's where a lot of these people get into trouble. And you had a caller earlier that said it so well when he said, look, Rush should not have gotten involved with football. He proved before that he really was not a sports person.
Look, Rush is a paid entertainer.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer. I mean, people don't seem to understand this. People, for some reason, take Rush Limbaugh and lump him into a group of people that, because he is so influential in politics, that everything he says is gospel. Everything he says is his opinion.
Right.
You have the option of turning the dial.
Oh yeah, and I think with sometimes, and maybe we're all kind of guilty of this, is where if we have talent in one area, like I like to sing, but I'm certainly not going to do rap because that is not my talent. I do not have the talent to sing rap.
No, well, you know, I know what you're saying. I got to run, Tigress. You hear that music playing, that means it's time for important words and coverage of what in the world's happening. I'm Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend. More of the program after these important words. Rush is an entertainer. We'll clarify that next hour. We'll try and weed out what's the difference between entertainment and politics. Right here on The Big One.
I am addicted to prescription pain medication.
Holcomb's got it. Fires down the middle.
The following material may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
I am addicted to prescription pain medication.
You're just hurting yourself with this rambunctious behavior.
No, that'd be me, not Rush. Well, it's something to consider. 578-1100 in the classic 216 area code. What is the difference between politics and entertainment? We'll figure it out.
The Rick Gilmour Show on News Radio WTAM 1100.
And later in the broadcast, I'm going to replay for you the entire 4-minute speech that Rush gave. See, what you have to consider, the problem is that if Rush goes into rehab and gets off of painkillers, well, what about the chronic pain? What do they do about that? Like I said, we've been discussing this evening how somebody gets in a predicament like that. And I guess when you do hold yourself up to some kind of standards of being holier than thou on the radio and telling people what to think and how to vote and that sort of thing, that if you have anything hidden in your closet, it's bound to come out and haunt you. Got an interesting email at Gilly, Gilly, at WTAM.com. Dear Gilly, I'm a staunch conservative who used to really enjoy Rush Limbaugh. Haven't listened in years, no particular reason, but I still think he's okay. Upon first hearing of the drug situation, I was completely disappointed. After all, us conservatives tend to spout Christian morals and thus need to walk the walk. After being crushed, I did what I always try to do for anyone. I began empathizing with Rush. I spent the majority of this last year in chronic, nearly debilitating pain. I got Percocet from my neurologist. Some days I took a double dose of this narcotic and it did nothing for me. I was still in agony. Now I'm imagining my dream come true, becoming a rock star. Okay, so I'm a rock star. About to go out in front of 20,000 screaming fans who each paid $50 per ticket. I'm in chronic pain, haven't eaten anything substantial in months. I look and feel terrible and will barely be able to play my guitar. All of a sudden, my manager produces a painkiller, which can be offered by doctors, but which he obtained illegally. What do I do? Well, let me tell you, I am such a goody two-shoes, my friends make big fun of me for never doing anything wrong, but looking at this situation, I don't think there's much question that I would probably take those pills. Desperate pain makes people do desperate things. My best friend is a communist pinko liberal. He called Rush Limbaugh a deaf idiot. Now he can call him a deaf, dumb drug doer. Aren't liberals just as compassionate as they always spout? Signed, John. And P.S., he says, don't worry about his health. He'll be fine. Well, grown adults acting like children and calling people names is a waste of time. Let's just look at the situation realistically, and I read that and then I think, oh, so for anyone to try to disparage Rush, now they're not being compassionate. Is that true? I mean, it's supposed to be truly Christ-like in nature. We would be so compassionate that there would be no little lines on that rotating blue ball that sits in the corner of the classroom. All them little lines that form borders to countries were made by people who were less than compassionate and fought wars. What happened to President Bush and his compassionate conservatism? I don't think what we are doing in Iraq is very compassionate. Oh, but no, see, if you argue with that, you're un-American. I mean, I see no reason for people to look at both sides of the issue. Yeah, Rush has a problem. He needs to fix it. Does that mean that you're supposed to forever look at Rush with some kind of tainted eye? Oh, he was addicted to pills more than once. What is the difference between entertainment and politics? If you've got three eyes, you ain't going to be president. Look at Bob Dole. He was perfectly suited to be president, but he's got a lame arm. He was a war hero. But he's got a bum wing, you know. Can't pick him. He's old. He might die. He's still alive.
He fell off the podium.
Yeah, I know he fell off a podium, but, you know. Gerald Ford fell down a whole bunch of times. He's still alive. And I was watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. They had the question, what was Gerald Ford's middle name? The guy had to go through like 2 or 3 lifelines to get it. It was Rudolph, you dummy. Whenever you see anybody on that show that's under the age of 35, they're not going to be in that seat for more than 5, 6 questions because they just don't know enough about the world. Especially under 30. You know, watch. I watch consistently, Nate. Nate's giving me foul language from the other room. Watch consistently. Anybody in their 20s doesn't know enough about pop culture questions from the 60s or 50s. All they have to do is throw you one ringer. What was Jack Kerouac's famous book? You know, the Beat Generation, Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, William S. Burroughs. What was the book? I'm asking you, Nate, you're 20-something. What was Jack Kerouac's famous book?
5 of the first winners they had on there were under 30.
I don't think so. You know, and you're answering my question with something else.
Because I don't know.
It's On the Road.
Oh, thank you.
But that's something that people just... I don't know how that ties into anything other than the fact that somebody didn't know the president, Gerald R. Ford, Rudolph. Now, people don't know anything in this country. They only know what they want to know. And they only want to know what's entertaining. You think Rush got where he was by strictly talking politics and not being entertaining? No. Why is Meet the Press? Why is that so boring? Because it's a bunch of politicians on there. Like C-SPAN. It's a bunch of politicians sitting around with drool running out of the corner of their mouth. That's why it's so boring. It's not entertainment. Look at Bob Taft. He's boredom on a stick. He's walking, talking boredom. I don't know how he got elected. Well, I know how, because of the name Taft. That's who we need to run against Bob Taft. Can't we find some shirt-tail relative of a president to run on name recognition from the Democratic Party? And weren't there Democratic presidents from Ohio? We've had more presidents come from this state than any other. So couldn't we find somebody with the name Hayes? Aren't there any Garfield? I mean, aren't there any shirt-tail relatives we could run and say, well, see, his granddaddy was president. That's the only qualifications we have right now with our governor in office now. And people are just jealous of Rush Limbaugh as well. They're jealous of him. And the Democrats are going to try and take him apart. Seemed to me that there was a time where I had seriously considered the thought that if Rush Limbaugh, now apparently he's tainted now, do not you believe that there was a time where if he wanted to run for political office, he would have won? Don't you think he could have run for, well, and he wouldn't run against Jeb Bush in sunny Florida, because Jeb's a Republican, and they're all chummy and pat each other on the back. But doesn't that make perfect sense to you? Rush broadcasts from Florida. Rush lives in Florida. Florida was the deciding state in the last presidential election, and we have another presidential election coming up. Makes perfect sense to me. Perfect timing, too. Wait until he gets the boot for some thinly veiled racist statement, which I don't think was racist at all. If Dusty Smith had said that, it would have flown right by. No, but Rush said it. Jump on him. And then while he's down, stick in the bayonet and twist it. While he stumbled, pull the rug. I don't agree with his politics. But I don't know what that... Maybe there is no answer. Maybe there is no difference between politics and entertainment. Because if you're not entertaining... I mean, that jug-eared bastard Perot almost got in just because of the entertainment factor. It was that numbnut VP he was going to run with Seagrave or whatever his name was, a blithering idiot that was probably a very intelligent man sometime around World War II. Stockdale. That was his name. Thanks, Nate. And he just blithered his way around on stage during a debate. And it just, the whole thing fell out. I voted for Perot. Strictly because he was not a politician. Although he wanted to become one. But I thought, well, the guy knows how to run his own business. That's why Wesley Clark seemed so appealing to me until I found out he's nothing but a tool of Hillary. Or at least that's how it appears. I'll make a prediction here. You like predictions on the radio? How about this for a prediction on your radio? If Al Gore decides to run for president, Hillary's going to say, screw this, I can't wait. And Hillary's going to throw her hat in the ring, and she's going to get Wesley Clark as her VP. Now we got the Iron Lady and the General, right? Well, I did some research into Wesley Clark. Do you know that he was like a big nothing? He had just a so-so career in the military until Bill Clinton came along. And Wesley Clark was also involved with a little something called Waco and the Branch Davidians. And after that, all of a sudden, he was on the rise to fame. Another star, another star. More lettuce on your shoulders. Then the next thing you know, he's Allied Supreme Commander in NATO. Sheesh, what a promotion from a 2-star general with a mediocre military career. But he's clean cut. See him on the TV and seems like an honest guy. He may be an honest guy. I doubt it. Seems to me that most of the people that are running for political office have tons of things that are hidden in their past, and it's all lies and fibs. And as far as I'm concerned, Rush Limbaugh is an entertainer. He says things. Johnny Cash was addicted to pills twice. Went into rehab once and then got addicted again. What was Johnny Cash? An entertainer. So Rush is not a politician. What Rush says you may believe or not believe. It's his opinion. You don't have to listen. Turn the damn thing off if you don't like it. Put in a CD. Do whatever you do. But people do listen. But he's an entertainer. How many entertainers? Let's make a list of entertainers that have had problems with drugs or alcohol at some point in their career. Johnny Cash, all the dead ones. Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis is an alcoholic. George Jones, an alcoholic. Glenn Beck's an alcoholic. He doesn't drink anymore, but at some point in his career, right, he had a problem with alcohol. Janis Joplin, of course. Jimi Hendrix, of course. Jim Morrison, of course, and that killed them. Boy, I mean, you know, we could sit here all night and do that. There's tons of them. So what makes Rush holier than thou or on a pedestal? It's because he's successful at what he does. Your triple Doppler forecast from TV3 meteorologist Betsy Kling tonight. Clear, cool, low 40s. Tomorrow, upper 60s. Currently 54 degrees in Cleveland, 54. Stay tuned for the Drudge Report at 10 o'clock. Think about that. Maybe that's where Rush got into trouble. And then I'll take your phone calls after a short break. Maybe that's where he got in trouble. Was because he mixed the two. He's neither one, right? Is he completely entertainment? Well, he talks politics. Is he a politician? Well, no, but he's an entertainer. But he wouldn't be entertaining without politics. Strange bedfellows there, huh? I think that's where he got in trouble. You start telling people how to vote, and there's people out there, just think about that. Keep thinking Florida. How many people did not want the current president, the one we have? How many people in this country did not want him elected? There is no other voice on the radio to counter Rush Limbaugh, is there? There is no one out there of a liberal bent that is as popular as Rush Limbaugh. That's not because there aren't that many liberals out there. They just haven't found someone entertaining enough to syndicate to put on the air to be a liberal. They can't find somebody. Why were our choices Gore and Bush? Blah and blah. Had to pick one of them because we didn't have who are we going to get to run for governor? We got Bob Blah, the Jellyfish Taft, and blah, somebody else. We got no choices in this country. That's what's staying. We're talking about Rush. And last hour, also, the article in the Scene magazine from October 1st came up, which I was prominently featured in, and talking about going hogging, which is the fine art of going out and picking up fat chicks. And, you know, I gave that woman that wrote the article, who apparently, somebody said they watched Fox 8 News, and a women's group is going to sue Sarah Fensky or the Scene or both because they're fat and unhappy, or something like that. I mean, you know, really, what are they going to say? I mean, you know, she didn't say anything. I mean, you know, pretty much, I mean, and I wasn't that bad. I didn't say anything that wasn't, in my mind, the truth. Fat chicks need love, too. I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. So if you want to read it, and you don't have...
Not so bad, no.
Go to clevescene.com. Well, what did I say? I'm looking at the article here. I profess not to like it. I think Jane Mansfield, people like that, they had some, you know, we're talking real meat. Yeah, you know, they interviewed my buddy Brian, you know. He had a great quote in there. He said, it's a situation where you could either play golf with a high handicap or a low one, he says, philosophically. Sometimes you just feel like winning the game. Wasn't as bad as the mustache. They didn't name him in here. I'm not going to name him either, but maybe he didn't want his name used. There's a guy I know that goes in there. He wants to see the article. He talked about a green dot party they used to have in Ohio State. A green dot. I don't know where the green dot falls, but he said what they'd do was they'd have a party and they'd all kick in money into a kitty. And then they'd try and bring the ugliest girl they could find. And the guy that brought the ugliest chick won the cash.
It's like the movie Dogfight.
And then they ask him, they go, well, what did the woman think? He says, who cared?
Oh, yeah, that's not offensive.
Well, I didn't say that. You know, I mean, maybe that was a little offensive.
Aggravated be-with.
Yeah, the problem is that I'm guilty by osmosis, right? That's why I'm guilty, because I'm just lumped into the article. The people that run the bar, because the lady that wrote the article said it was a hole in the wall, now they're mad at me. I didn't say it. I go there. Do you think your old pal Rick Gilmore, media darling, would drink in a hole in the wall? Well, maybe I would. You know, I have my limits. Not a glory hole in the wall, but a hole in the wall. Right? Right. John, you're on the air.
Hey, I got a problem.
Yeah?
Me and my friends went hogging last night, you know?
Yeah? Did you pick up my ex-wife?
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know her name.
Could be. You know, I was going to bump into her sometime and go, you know, from what I've heard, you know, that 20-pound weight that was lifted off of you when you left me? Well, I heard it's back and it's attached itself to your ass.
Well, maybe it was her. I don't know.
Maybe I am a pig. Hey, guys are pigs. Oink, oink, I'm a pig. Sue me. Anyway, you got a problem, you went hogging?
Yeah. So anyway, all my friends get the hogs, and there was one left over, and she wasn't like a real hog, but, a hog's a hog, So anyway, I start talking to her, she comes home with me, and now I think I'm in love with her. What do I do?
Oh, dear God. You can't fall in love with a hog. I mean, you can. I mean, there are hogs out there that probably are marrying material, but how old is she?
28.
And has she had any children?
No.
So now you can look forward to doubling that size within the next 10 years.
Yeah, you're right.
She'll turn
thanks, man. I should have listened to you.
And make sure your refrigerator's empty when you invite her home the next time.
That's true, you're right, because I think a few things were missing.
I think you're probably right. There you go. There's sound advice from your old pal Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend. Yeah, you bring a fat chick home and there's fingerprints in the butter and the pickle jar lid's half on. There's a spoon with peanut butter on it in the sink. It's just a mess. You go to her house next time and you pig out. You clean her fridge out. Get your groove on and get out. Get out, run screaming. They just get larger. She'll turn to heat energy. She'll reach critical mass, and she'll turn to heat energy and explode. More of the program after these important words and coverage of what in the world's happening on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100.
Worldwide.
America isn't easy. America is advanced citizenship. You've got to want it bad, because it's going to put up a fight. It's going to say, you want free speech? Let's see you acknowledge a man whose words make your blood boil, who's standing center stage and advocating at the top of his lungs that which you would spend a lifetime opposing at the top of yours.
I am addicted to prescription pain medication.
Rick Gilmour.
Y'all be cool. Right
on News Radio WTAM 1100.
I have a shocking confession to make on my own. Ladies and gentlemen, I, your fearless leader, Rick Gilmour, media darling, am a lesbian. Yes, I know. I tried group therapy with homosexuals and it just wouldn't work. I'm hopelessly addicted to women. What am I going to do? I don't know. Maybe it's not such a problem for me after all. Well, to each their own. Remember what Hunter Thompson said. I hate to advocate the use of drugs or liquor, violence or insanity to anyone. But in my case, it's worked. Well, Rush will be fine. Got an email says the problem with Rush is not his political feelings, but his personal habits versus drugs. It's hypocrisy. Johnny Cash may have been a pillhead, but he never got on the radio like Rush and said, what this says to me is that too many whites are getting away with drug use. Too many whites are getting away with drug sales. Too many whites are getting away with trafficking in this stuff. The answer to this disparity is not to start letting people out of jail because we're not putting others in jail who are breaking the law. The answer is to go out and find the ones who are getting away with it, convict them, and send them up the river, too. Now, this I have to take this gentleman's word for that that's a Rush quote. Is it? Could it be? I don't know why not. Could be. Scott, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Rick. To clear up a matter, the quote you just read is from his October 5th, 1995 show.
Okay.
He has other quotes, too. I took the time to do some research. September 9th, 1996, Republicans, unlike Democrats, have more self-discipline, therefore we will not be alcoholics or drug abusers.
You see, that's the problem, and I know how talk radio works, because I've had people call me and say, but you said this 9 years ago. Well, that's why you don't go on the radio, at least I don't go on the radio and try to have an act or make up anything, because the listeners will haunt you with it and say, well, because if you lie, you have to remember everything you said. Now, I'm not saying Rush was lying, but I'm just saying that was when? 1990?
September 9th, 1996, and the first quote that you read from the email was October 5th, 1995.
Do we know the time frame as to when Rush was in rehab the last time? Well, if we don't know that, people tend, and I will tell you this honestly, you probably know people that quit smoking cigarettes, and they become the most priggish people on the planet telling other people that they need to quit smoking. Now, if Rush were in rehab and then got out, and that were around the time frame, and he was being disparaging to drug users because he felt he would no longer have a problem, and then the problem came back and haunted him again. Well,
his first rehab was in 1999.
Do we know that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well.
Second one, 2001.
Then you got to be careful when you go on the radio and say anything, apparently, because it can come back and bite you in the ass.
You remember what he said about both Kurt Cobain and Jerry Garcia? I got the quote on both occasions. When he was informed of their death, big deal, another dead doper. They got what they deserved.
It's going to come back and haunt them.
And, you know, you were talking about Florida. The investigation was by the Palm Beach County District Attorney, Jim Edmondson. He is a conservative Republican. They investigated Rush for 47 days. And in that time, he bought 4,530 pills of OxyContin.
Well, maybe he was stocking up.
Apparently.
Well, I mean, do you think he took 4,700 pills in 47 days?
No.
That'd be 100 pills a day.
He took 30 a day.
Well, that's still a problem, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my wonder is, okay, so Rush gets off the pills, now he's still got chronic pain. Well, how do you deal with that?
I mean, I look at Limbaugh and I think to myself, you know, how is he any better, or why should we have any more empathy for him than the girl who's going to pass out tonight in Lakewood from smoking crack, or the poor ghetto kid who's going to stick a needle in his arm in East Cleveland?
Well, that's the interesting thing about fame, isn't it? I mean, would you have been hearing about Kobe Bryant had this happen with some high school football kid?
Unless it was a hometown hero, probably not.
Yeah, unless it was the hometown hero. And I don't care what anybody says. You know, Nate said earlier, my producer, he said, well, we made Kobe a star. Rush made himself a star. Rush did not make himself a star. If Rush did not have millions and millions and millions and millions of people who love to listen to him on a daily basis, he would not be where he is. The show would not be making $25 million a year in revenue if Rush were an unpopular fella. And who made him popular? The people.
Well, a certain segment of the people.
Well, yeah, well...
Right-wing white conservative men.
Well, apparently they spend a lot of money then, don't they? Maybe that's why there is no liberal voice on the air, because maybe the advertisers just say, I don't know, harumph.
But, you know, with Limbaugh, he set himself up to be a target by coming on as holier than thou. You remember what he says every single show. I'm a role model for the youth of America.
Well, I don't recall him saying that. Scott, I got to run. I don't recall him saying that. Some people must listen a lot more closely than others. I mean, you know, I'll air check my programs, and I'll hear things that only a program director would hear. You know what I mean? I hear things that only a program director would listen for. Well, this is working and that's not working. Don't do this, don't do that. Stop breathing in the microphone. Don't pop your peas, that kind of thing. But apparently, they're going to take Rush apart like a clock. And there's so much... There's such a volume of work there for so many years. I'm just waiting for somebody to take Rush tapes. You know this is going to happen eventually. There's a college radio show, Press the Button, where they take snippets and piece things together. Can you imagine the fun somebody's going to have with Rush Limbaugh and piecing statements together that are all taken out of context? It's a-coming. If you're a Rush fan, brace yourself, Bridget, because it's a-coming. This ain't over yet. The Democrats want to take him down. They want to take him down. They want him off the air. They don't want him to go to rehab and then come back and be on the air during the 2004 election season. Maybe they screwed up. Maybe the Democrats jumped the gun. Maybe they should have waited until, you know, within 4 or 5 months of the election and then taken him out. No, they couldn't wait. The ESPN thing happened and boom, while he's down, stick the bayonet and twist. They didn't wait. The Democrats screwed up again, didn't they? They weren't patient. He could have kept taking pills until next year. They don't want him to go to rehab and come back and be more powerful of a voice than ever. Now he'll appeal to anybody out there that ever have... Now he'll appeal to conservative white Republican men who may or may not have a drinking or drug problem. In this society, that counts a lot of people. How many people do you know in this country that drink too much? How many people do you know in this country that take pills? How many people do you know in this country that smoke weed? I see lots of hands going up out there. Lots of hands going up. Russell, you're on the air.
Yeah, hello, Gilly.
Howdy.
Rush did say that he's a role model for youth.
Well, you know, it's going to come back and haunt him if he says things like that.
But I disagree with you. He is not immensely talented. Anybody can be talented when all they do is lie on the air. Now, if he believed all the BS that he puts out, there's no way he could be a Republican. He would have to be a libertarian. He's a propaganda machine for the government, and your station is an unethical station for airing him, because all they're concerned about is making the money. Because if you had a person on there that really told the truth, that station would not get their license renewed. That's just like all the stooges they got on the Christian radio, like Schmidt, and Prager, and Gallagher, and Hugh Hewitt. They're all shills for the Republican Party.
Who am I a shill for?
No, I got to say, no, you're not.
I'm not a shill for anybody.
2 hours a week.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, see? Now, what is wrong with that idiot management of yours that we're going to have the Drudge Report, which is just propaganda? Then they have that Art, whatever that guy's name, Art Bell, which is stupid, while you can't be on a guy like you every evening, 5-6 days a week.
I don't make those decisions, Russell.
I know, but see, it's propaganda. That's all Limbaugh is. It's lies.
Well...
No, Gilly. I've been listening to talk radio for 40 years, okay, since Alan Douglas was on the air in Cleveland. Talk radio is 99% BS and lies. Okay? I mean...
Well, where do I fit into this, then?
What?
Where do I fit into the 99%?
Well, maybe because you don't have a show every day. But here's the thing.
Oh, you say, wait a minute. Now, you're telling me that you think that if they gave me a program 5 days a week that I would suddenly change my opinions and lie for the Republican Party?
No, or whatever party you're affiliated with. You might not. But see, here's the thing. Is your station would never let you take one of Rush's shows and do it, say if you were on every day, and take a couple hours of his show and show to the public how he lies. Your station management would never let you do that.
I don't necessarily know that he thinks he's lying.
He is lying.
But I don't necessarily know that he thinks he's lying.
Yes, he is, Gilly. Why do you think...
Maybe he believes everything he says.
No, he doesn't.
How do you know? Well, you don't know Rush the man. You don't know him personally.
I don't have to, Gilly.
Maybe you completely disagree with what he says, and maybe you feel that what he says is propaganda, and maybe he believes every word of it.
Why do you think Trevisano's popular? Because he's a BS artist. He's a liar. He's like a guy that you meet in a bar. That's always BSing you. I mean, like Trevisano, he tells people he prepares for that show. He never prepares for that show. You could get as...
Well, how do you know that?
Because as worthless as I know talk radio and I know BSers. Now, when they're as worthless as the plain dealer is, you can get at least 2 articles a day out of that paper. The pig never gets it.
Okay, I gotta go. You know, grown men calling other grown men names. Now, do you think that Trevisano would be on if he was not entertaining? See, maybe... Jeez, look at all the lines. Maybe the thing is how you come off on the radio. I mean, I've had people say to me, Rick, I can't tell when you're being serious or you're kidding. Like if you call somebody a name, like an a-hole or something, and you hang up on them, is it entertainment or are you really mad at them? I said, if I use that kind of language, I'm really mad at them. Generally. If I call somebody that name, it's usually because they said something that really ticked me off. Well, you know, Rush is pretty convincing, and he's... Like I said, you can listen to Rush Limbaugh, and you can say, yeah, I believe that. And then, well, wait a minute, maybe I don't believe it. But that doesn't mean that he sits... Do you think he sits there and washes his hands with invisible soap and consciously lies? Maybe he believes everything he says. That doesn't mean you have to believe it. It's entertainment. If you don't like it, turn the dial or go watch a soap opera or go give the dog a bath or I don't know. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3 meteorologist Betsy Kling tonight. Cool out there, well in the low 40s. Tomorrow, mild upper 60s. Currently 54 degrees in Cleveland, 54. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to play for you in its entirety Rush Limbaugh's explanation for about 4.5 minutes long, and then important words and coverage of what in the world's happening, and then you will listen to The Drudge Report right here on Cleveland's only news radio. I'm Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend, and this is WTAM 1100.
Ladies and gentlemen, you You know that I have always tried to be honest with you throughout these 15 years and open about my life. So I need to tell you something. I need to tell you today that part of what you have heard and read in the past week is correct. I am addicted to prescription pain medication. I first started taking prescription painkillers 5-6 years ago when my doctor prescribed them to treat post-surgical pain following spinal surgery. Unfortunately, the surgery was unsuccessful, and I continued to have severe pain in my lower back and also in my neck now due to 2 herniated discs, pain which I'm still experiencing because of that. Rather than opt for additional surgery for these conditions, I chose to treat the pain with prescribed medication. And this medication turned out to be highly addictive. Over the past several years, I've tried to break my dependence on pain pills, and in fact, I've twice checked myself into medical facilities in an attempt to do so. But I recently agreed with my doctor about the next steps. So, immediately following this broadcast, I will check myself into a treatment center for the next 30 days to once and for all break the hold that this highly addictive medication has on me. The show will continue during this time. Of course, there'll be an array of guest hosts that you've come to know and respect that will be sitting here. And I want you to know something. I'm not making any excuses, and I don't intend to. You know, over the years, athletes, celebrities have emerged from these treatment centers. They've come out to great fanfare and praise for conquering great demons. They are said to be great role models and examples for others. They've gotten a lot of praise for doing this. Well, I want you to know that I'm no role model. And I refuse to let anybody think that I'm doing something heroic here or doing something great here. When there are people that you have never heard of, people you never hear about, people who aren't very well off, they face long odds every day, they never resort to any escapes, they just face it. They are the role models, if anybody in this is a role model. I'm not a victim. And I'm not going to portray myself as a victim. I'm not going to allow anybody to portray myself as a victim. I take full responsibility for this problem. At the present time, the authorities are conducting an investigation. I have been asked to limit my public comments until this investigation is complete. So I'm only going to say that the stories you've read, stories you've heard contain inaccuracies and distortions. And I'm going to clear those up when I am finally free to speak about them. Now, I've mentioned this over the course of this past week, and I want to do it again. I deeply appreciate the overwhelming support that you have expressed to me, extended to me. It literally has sustained me. But it doesn't fool me. It is what it is. I take it for what it is, and I appreciate it more than I will ever be able to express to you. But now I want to ask for your prayers. Because when this is all over with, I look forward, and it's never going to be all over with. That's something I know. But nevertheless, I look forward to resuming our excursions into broadcast excellence together again, soon as possible.
And next week, I will still be a lesbian. And I'm Rick Gilmour. I want to remind you on this program next week, Marianne at 8 p.m. Marianne, the paranormal investigator, get you all prepared for Halloween. Find out if you got a ghost in your home. And, hey, doesn't cost you nothing to pray for Rush, does it? Talk at you soon.